Hello and welcome to another video from the workshop. Now, if you watched a few of the other videos, you're probably getting a little bit more comfortable with mechanics on your own bike. But you also might be thinking that now's the time for you to get your own bike and start doing this yourself. And you've got a couple of options there. You can either buy new from the bike shop. It comes all nicely prepared, ready to go. Just jump on and ride straight away. Or you might be thinking you want to buy a motorcycle from a second-hand market. Now, obviously, when you buy one of those, the onus is on you that it's a good bike and it's free for any financial liabilities the previous owner might have. So you really want to do some checks before you hand over the cash and ride off on what you think is a great bike, but might in fact turn out to be a bit of a lemon if you don't do the right checks. So I thought we'd just go over a few of those things now to give you a little bit more confidence when you step into that second-hand market, and we'll go from there. So when you found the bike that you like, one of the things you can do before you go and visit that in person is to check some of the online sources just to see if it shows up on any accident registers. If it's been written off, it's never a good sign if you want to buy a bike unless you're keen to repair it. Or if it's got any outstanding financial obligations. It's possible the previous owner had it on a hire purchase agreement. They may or may not have paid that out. That's something you want to be sure of before you go and look at the bike. You don't want to be liable for paying out someone's HP agreement after you've handed over your cash to buy the bike from them. So once you get that sorted, you go and view the bike. The first thing that I would do is have a good look around the bike to see if there is any crash damage that the owner hasn't confessed to. And so what you're looking at there is really anything that is sticking out is liable to come in contact with the ground. Some of those things might be here, the bar ends, they should shut pretty easily, maybe the end of the mirrors, end of the levers here, maybe down here at the foot pegs. You know, the foot pegs here will have some scuff marks on if they've been on the floor. Are the levers straight? Anything that sort of could hide a scuff as well. It is possible, you know, due to the cost of a new lever, if it's been crashed, may well have replaced this. Small things like that, easy to replace, easy to hide any events. Something that might show here is maybe on the edge of the radiator. Now the radiator is a little bit more of an investment for somebody to go and replace. They may do that, but more than likely they'll just replace this plastic cap on the end because that's only going to be a few dollars, and there could well be scratches and gouges in the underneath there. So just have a look for that as well. You may see on the tyre, you may see lines which go directly to the edge in a straight line this direction. That often will be an indicator that the front wheel's slidden out, and you might see that on the back as well. So same this side, anything that's sticking out, anything that could come in contact with the ground, that's what you want to be aware of. Exhausts as well, it's generally a place where contact happens, and these bits are easily to replace. So you just want to make sure that everything looks about the same age. You don't want to have really dark material on one foot peg and light material on another one, because they should roughly be the same. While you're walking around, take a note of the frame number, and you want to make a note of the engine number as well. Now on this one, particularly difficult to find, but it's actually underneath here. The engine and frame number are sometimes difficult to get to, so you want to carry a torch with you while you're doing this inspection. The other thing you want to carry with you is a piece of chalk as well, and I'll tell you what that's for a bit later on. But copying that engine and frame number down, important, because the owner may not have the correct documentation for the bike. It could be they've swapped an engine and that's not showing up on the registration documents. Same with the frame. If it has been in a bad accident, they may well have replaced the frame, but maybe they haven't updated the documents. So once you've got those written down, you do want to check those against the documentation that you're given with the bike. Right, now make a note of what the odometer says, how many kilometers it's run. If the bike says it's got 2,000 kilometers, you're expecting things to be fairly new and very little wear. If they say it's got 25,000 Ks, then you'd expected some things to be replaced. So some things might be new, some things might be old. When you come to the front here, have a look to see down here, just to see what's the wear on the brake pads. You also want to have a look at this disc as well. Give the disc a feel along this front edge. You shouldn't really be able to feel a lip on this edge on the inside and the outside. If you do, then there's a good chance that that disc is worn. Obviously that will give you an indication of how many kilometers the wheel has done. If the bike's saying it's only done 2,000 kilometers, but there's a big 1 mil groove in the disc, then something's not matched up quite correctly. Don't forget to do both sides and the rear brake as well. While the bike's still cold, we're going to check the oil level. Look, it's pretty much in the middle. We're going to look at the colour. The colour here is red because I know it's reasonably new. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to check the smell of the oil. So, pull the oil cap off. Does it smell burnt? Burnt oil is going to be indication of old oil. Anything that's dark, if you see dark oil in this area here, then that's also another indication of old oil. Old oil indicates poor maintenance. So if they've been relaxed on the changing of the oil, chances are they've been relaxed on other areas of maintenance on the bike too. Again, an indicator of its condition. Now the next check we want to do is wheel bearings. Wheel bearings are pretty easy to check actually. I've just put this on the stand to help me. What you can do if you're going to look at this in the field is just pull it over on the side stand and get that rear wheel off the ground. So effectively what you want to do with this is grab the top of the wheel and the bottom of the wheel, and you want to oscillate that backwards and forwards along that line. So forward and back, just to feel if there's any play in that wheel bearing. Then you want to move it around, do the same again, and the third place, do it again. If you feel any play, it just means that the wheel bearings may be gone. Again, an indicator of mileage or how many kilometers it's done. You really wouldn't expect wheel bearings to have gone within a few thousand kilometers. And if you want to do the same on the front wheel, you just need to pick that wheel up. Again, you're trying to pull from the top and the bottom and just rotate it against the fork to see if that wheel bearing's gone in there. Now, checking the steering bearings. You sit on the bike, you give the handlebars a turn to the left, turn to the right, just see if there's any restriction there. Then you put your hand on the top of the yoke. You then squeeze the brake and you rock the bike forward and back with the brake on. That's going to compress the forks and then extend the forks. So you want to get enough momentum that it compresses the forks a little bit, and when you pull back, it reaches the top of the stroke. So you really feel it stop coming back. If you've got play in the bearings, you're going to feel it with this hand here. You're going to feel it through that nut. It will be quite prominent, so an easy check for you to make. Now there is another way you can check that bearing as well. If you can get this wheel off the floor, it's suspended somehow, you want to hold the front brake on and you want to pull this fork through the wheel forward and backward. So you're looking to try and move these forks in this kind of motion, and you're actually feeling for any knocking or notching noises that come from that. Right, so we want to check the tyres. We want to see if there's any deformations in there, any abnormalities. We want to check the tread on a few points in the tyre. We also want to check to make sure the tyre's not too old. And if you look at the tyre wall, you'll find a code on it stamped on the side. This one says 3022. So that's actually made in the 30th week of 2022. So that's a few years old, but not really excessive. And the back, let's have a look at that. 25th week of 2022. So they were manufactured around the same time. But also tread looks good on all of those. Right. If you want, you can check the front wheel for straightness. Now, the way that you would do this is have a friend pull that bike back against the stand so it lifts the front wheel off the ground. Then you want to spin this wheel by hand. And you're looking to see if you're going to stand this side from the front. You're going to see if it moves sideways. That'll tell you if there's any run out visual to the eye. The other thing you're looking for is anything that binds it into a certain position. So we're not using the brake at this point. It's going to spin, it's going to come to a natural rest stop. This is where you're going to use your chalk. You're going to mark that line somewhere here near the mudguard. Then you're going to spin it again. You're looking to see if you've got something stopping the wheel in exactly the same place. If it stops at random places, that's a good sign. If it stops in the same place, there's likely to be something with the disc or the wheel or the bearing that's causing it a restriction at that point. And so that might be an item that you want to check or be concerned with if you were to continue to buy the bike. Now you want to check your brake fluid. You want to have a look in here and see if it's a very dark colour, or worse, if it's cloudy. If any of those present, then you know the brake fluid hasn't been changed for a while. Again, that's an indicator of the owner's maintenance attention. Especially check the back brake, because that's the one that's often neglected and the owners don't usually worry about the back brake too much. The front brake, don't be afraid to pull any of these decorative socks off. Have a look at that. Make sure it's the right level. Again, is it dark? Is it cloudy? Does it look like it should? Then, once you've done that, turn the bike on. Any odd noises, any indicators here in the engine management lights on. That's what you're looking for here. You want to run through all of your tests, like your indicators, your high beams, all of that sort of stuff, just to make sure that everything is as it should be and the bike's not actually complaining about any electrical problems. With the bike on, you might want to see if you can get access to the battery and check that. It should be above 12 volts without the engine running. When the engine's running, you're looking for about 14 volts. If you don't see a difference between the engine off and the engine on, if it doesn't get up to that 14 volts DC with the engine running, you might have an alternator problem. Okay, now would be time to start the engine, and what you're listening for is how it starts when it's cold, because that's the most load the engine's going to get is a cold start. And this is why a lot of owners will want to start the bike, have it nice and warm before you arrive. That way it not going to give them any trouble if it does have a cold starting problem. So you've already felt the engine and the radiator, you know it's cold. What I would do for that first cold start is remove the radiator cap and have a look at the water in there before you start it. It shouldn't be cloudy, it shouldn't be discoloured or anything. Pull the radiator cap off before you start the bike. When you start the bike, what you want to do is have a look in here while you're listening to the engine for any annoying noises, knocking, clattering sounds. Have a look in here at the water. Now, idle, there shouldn't really be a whole lot of movement in there. You shouldn't see any bubbles or anything at all. If the head gasket's gone, you're going to see air coming out through there. Now, you've only got a few minutes to do this. I'll do this with a word of caution. It's not going to be particularly hot, but water does expand. So as the engine heats up, this is going to start to overflow. So you've only got about maybe 30 seconds of watching in there before you've got to put the cap back on. But if you see any air bubbles coming through while the engine's running, that's potentially a head gasket gone. So whack that back on, and then you can see if the bike warms up. And you want to warm the bike up to around 90 degrees, ideally till the fan the cooling fan comes on, because you want to make sure that that system works as well. Once it's up to that temperature, you're having a look around, you're going to see if you've got any oil leaks, any water leaks, anything the previous owner might have wiped clean before. Certainly won't be clean now if it's got a leak. And when that fan's come on, you can turn it off. You then want to try and start it a couple of other times from warm. That'll give you an indication of how your battery condition is. If it can't start 2 or 3 times, you know that you might be up for a new battery, and you know there's the cost involved with that as well. Potentially a new alternator if the reason the battery's dead is because the bike's not charging it. The old owner may well have had the bike on a tender overnight just to give you that initial capacity to start, but which it can't replicate itself. Now with the engine running, you're going to put it into first gear and just ease the clutch out just to see if it bites, and feel that the clutch operation is smooth. The bike should start to try and pull forward, don't let it. You then want to try that again in second gear, third gear, fourth gear, all the way up to top gear, just going through the motions. You can do this all before you take it out on that test ride that you want to do. This will give you a little bit more closer attention to what the gearbox feels like than when you're out on the road. There's a couple more things you can do while you've got the bike up on its stands or on the side stand. We can check the rear suspension by pushing down on the rear and make sure that's quite smooth. This one's quite smooth here. Grab the front brake, rock it. You want to see if there's any notchiness or any stiffness while you're doing that, because obviously suspension is pretty key to your safety. So there is a physical thing you can do with checking your suspension. If you want to go and check the sliders here and on the back here, just to see if there's any scratches or detents or anything that might look like it's affected those shiny stanchions, which will cause you some problems. Yeah, you can check for any oil leaks as well. I mean, sometimes even a fly stuck to your fork can cause you a problem with your seal. But what you're really looking for is any mechanical issues, you know, any of that material that's been removed or taken an impact or, you know, scratched in a major way. Seal's pretty easy to replace, but the gold stanchions on this, that will not be easy or cheap to replace. I haven't gone through absolutely everything that you can look through when you're buying a bike. I think some of them need a little bit of common sense to have a look at as well. You know, for example, the chain and sprockets. I think anybody who can look at one of those can start to see whether there's a lot of wear, if the chain's too slack or too tight. You need to have a look at some of those things as well. Or does the bike smell of fuel? Is it leaking fuel somewhere? You know, is it a fire waiting to happen? One of the things you might miss is the keys. So one of the things I would do, because these are often coded to the motorcycle. So obviously we know that the ignition works because we've turned it on, we started the bike. Check that the same key operates the tank. It's possible that this is a new tank with a different key. You may not have that. Do you have all 3 keys? Potentially. Do you have the programming key? Sometimes you might have a red key. There's also a seat key back here. Does it work there as well? Those are the things that you want to check as well, because if you've got to go and buy a whole new key set, often it's not just the key. You may have to buy the ignition barrels for all of those 3. You may also have to buy the pickup for the immobilizer. You might even have to buy the whole ECU. So a loss of a key might end up costing you $2,500, $3,000, $4,000 on the bike that you've just bought just to get that set up. So now my bike absolutely smells of fuel because I've just opened the fuel tank. So I pretty much know that my fuel seal is good. But that aside, that is most of the things that you want to look at when you're looking at a second-hand bike for yourself. I hope that has helped you and helped you get on your way with getting a bike of your own, if you're indeed looking for one. So I have created a checklist, and if you would like a copy of that, I will do a screenshot of it at the end of this video. If you could subscribe, that would really help here, help us make more videos as well, and also keep you informed when we put the next ones up. If the screenshot of the form isn't very good, I'll see if I can add a copy into the comments there. I hope you enjoyed that one.